All right, tell the jury who you are.
Michael Burks.
And what do you do?
I'm a criminal investigations division sergeant of the Hospital Police Department.
All right, how long have you been in law enforcement?
This is my 9th year in law enforcement.
All right, and we've got, well, I can still hear noise from outside. That microphone is right in front of you, but it's probably about 3 feet away, so the closer you can get to it, the better.
Yes, sir.
All right, so how long have you been in law enforcement?
8 years.
Okay. Back in July of 2022, were you working for the Oxford Police Department?
Yes, sir, I was.
All right, and what were you doing at that time, position-wise?
I was a detective.
All right. Now, did you secure a search warrant for Jay Lee's vehicle?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you actually perform the search warrant?
Yes, sir.
You and fellow officers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What day did you execute that search warrant?
Executed that search warrant on July the 10th.
All right. And when did you actually go perform the search?
July 11th.
All right. And where was the vehicle, and how did you come to be aware about Jay Lee's vehicle, and what did you do?
The vehicle was at Bandit Towing. I was made aware by my lieutenant at the time, Lieutenant Fortner, that I was to meet Lieutenant Carradine and Sergeant Douglas with UPD at Bandit Towing.
All right. After you got the search warrant, did you go to Bandit Towing?
Yes, sir.
Did you observe Jay Lee's vehicle?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. What kind of just plain view observations did you make?
Plain view observations. I observed debit cards, credit cards in the driver's seat of the vehicle, and I observed a key ring with 2 gold keys on the passenger side of the vehicle that had a little wooden block attached that said J.
Okay. Other items in the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you take photographs of the exterior and the interior of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
All right. And did you check to see whether the car was locked or unlocked?
Yes, sir, I did. I checked the passenger side door and the vehicle was unlocked.
All right. And with regard to Bandit Towing's procedure, would they have needed to gain access to the interior of the car before they towed it to their place of business?
No, sir.
All right. So it was in the same condition as it would have been before they towed it there?
Yes, sir.
All right. If I could have this marked for ID as a collected exhibit.
It's going to be 89. We start with this morning. All right, be marked as S89. Those are photos of.
No objection.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be 20.
20 pictures. All right. I assume you're asking to be introduced. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I think he's testified to photograph, right?
He did.
Okay.
All right. S89 will be omitted.
All right. And you've reviewed these photos that we just had received into evidence?
Yes, sir.
And did they accurately depict the condition of Jay Lee's vehicle at the time you observed it on the 11th?
Yes, sir.
Y'all seeing this?
You see it?
What back on the big screen? Is it being broadcast on the big screen there or not?
Oh, there it is. All right. Can you see it? You're on.
I can.
Looking at 89-1, is that the exterior from the front angle of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Anything distinctive about that photo? The condition, just the type of car it was?
Yes, sir. I know that it was a Ford.
And if you don't mind, that microphone is 5 feet away.
Yes, sir. Is a black Ford with a gold racing stripe down the middle.
All right, anything on the dashboard?
Flowers.
Going around that angle is there on 89-2 of the sort of a angle looking down the driver's side of the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
And then 89-3 is just going to be an exterior photo of the rear.
Yes, sir.
And, just some unique characteristics of that. Had a student ID and a sticker on the back and a vanity tag that said Jimmie.
Yes, sir.
All right, then you moved in to take photos of the exterior of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, the interior of the vehicle. All right, is that, prior to this photo being taken, did anybody gain access and change anything inside the contents of the vehicle? Any items inside the vehicle?
No, sir.
All right, so these photos, it's in the same condition as it was when the first was over.
Yes, sir.
All right, and this is going to be 89.5 being projected. Just describe what was your observations about the driver's seat, the driver's area of Jay Lee's vehicle.
There is a bean bag possibly in the driver's seat, and the debit credit cards are right there in front of the bean bag.
All right. I'm pointing to that on the sort of back of the seat, the back part of the seat. Is that what you're referring to? Is it a pillow, bean bag?
Yes, sir.
All right, and then below that, on the seat part of the seat, you identified some cards.
Yes, sir.
What were those? You know what they were?
Credit cards,
And then on the steering wheel,
masks.
sort of like COVID masks.
Yes, sir.
In the console, some other personal items.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, 89.6, is that a sort of a closer image of what was in the driver's seat?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to determine who those cards belonged to?
Yes, sir.
Who were they?
Jay Lee.
Looking at 89.8.
Let's cover up those numbers there if they're visible.
I asked you to look at exhibit 89.8. Were those some of the credit cards and the student ID of Jay Lee?
Yes, sir.
And where were they photographed? What part of the vehicle?
The driver's seat.
Okay. Your Honor, if I could have the bailiff published to the.
I'll do all that anyway.
Should we look at?
Let the jury see that, okay?
What is it, number 7?
It's all part of 89.
89.
I didn't want those numbers displayed on the screen, so,
All right. Gonna hand you 89-9. Is that a receipt from Dollar General on July the 7th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where was that located in the vehicle in the photograph?
Center console.
All right. Yonder it has last 4. If I can have that published as well.
you can.
All right. On the screen, I've got 8910. That photograph was made during the search of Jaley's vehicle.
It was
And where is that located in the vehicle?
center console.
And what items were significant for taking that photograph?
The credit cards.
Did you find out who they belong to?
Yes, sir, Jaylee.
How did you identify them?
About the names on the cards.
All right, looking at 8911 on your screen, have you moved to a different area of the vehicle?
The passenger side.
Passenger side. Now, is that the same condition as when you first observed before you took any photographs?
Yes, sir.
Still in the same condition?
Yes, sir.
All right, and just kind of describe that area of the vehicle, what was in the seat, what was in the floorboard, things like that.
In the seat is the key ring. It's right next to the water bottle
All right.
on top of the jacket.
Is that on top of the jacket in the seat?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then in the floorboard, there's a UPS slip, a Cool Whip can.
Right there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
A thermos, a water bottle, a screwdriver
Right there.
beside the thermos.
Right
Yes,
there,
sir. Yes, sir.
beside it. Okay. What else is
And the shot glass.
that? Right there.
Yes, sir.
All right, the shot glass standing straight up or knocked over?
Standing straight up.
All right. What about the Cool Whip?
Sitting straight up.
All right, 8912. Is that just a closer image of the passenger seat of the keys and water bottle on the jacket?
Yes, sir.
All right. And 8913, is that just a closer image of what was on the floorboard?
Yes, sir.
Looks like there's like barcode.
The UPS slip.
UPS slip?
Yes, sir.
Like a package delivery or return?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, now looking at 8914, what area of the vehicle is that photograph taken?
The back seat.
Okay, on what side?
The driver's side.
Can you identify the objects that were in the back seat on the driver's side?
Yes, sir. There is a pink dog carrier attached to the headrest of the driver's seat, and right in front of it, that black box contained a saxophone.
Okay. All right, looking at 8916. What part of the vehicle is, the interior of the vehicle is being photographed?
The back passenger side.
All right, just describe for the record and for the jury what you observed in the back seat and on the back seat floorboard.
Another box, some toilet paper, and a thermos in the floorboard.
Now then, in the vehicle, you've documented the different debit cards, credit cards, ID. Was there any other things of value
Inside of the vehicle.
inside the vehicle?
Reflect. There's an old driver's license, a new driver's license, and a student ID.
Student ID, debit cards, credit cards?
Yes, sir.
What about cash?
$5 in cash.
You project 8917. Where was that cash observed?
This cash was loose dollar bills in the center console of the vehicle.
Okay. Now then, 8918, why did you put these items together and take a picture of those items that were taken from the car?
Because this was a collection of all the items that were seized from the vehicle.
I'm going to hand it to you. I know it's got information on it, but that information is pretty hard to read, is it not?
It is.
All right. I want to ask you specifically about the keys and try to keep the other information off.
I think that's hard enough to read. Don't be too worried about it.
All right. You see those keys being projected on 8918?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you've described it, it had a sort of a personalized token
Yes, sir.
on it. It said J.
It did.
Now, on the keychain, was there any key on that keychain that went to the car?
No, sir.
Did you find a key that went to the car?
No, sir.
All right. And then 8919 was the saxophone in the back seat?
Yes, sir.
And that was that in the box on the driver's side?
It was.
Okay. And then 8920, the last image of the exhibit, was that in Jimmie's vehicle?
It was.
What is that?
Birth certificate.
All right, if I could have that published to the jury. Where was the birth certificate found?
I do not recall.
Don't remember what area. Now, in the investigation that began on when OPD was notified by UPD about Jay Lee, was that your first search warrant?
Yes, sir.
Did you execute any other search warrants?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many search warrants did you seek to get on any of his debit cards, credit cards, checking account information?
I did Discover and Cash Out. And we sent one off to American Express as
All right.
well.
So you were involved in the American Express search warrant as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. At what time did you issue a search warrant for the Discover card?
The Discover card, it was early on in the investigation. I believe it was on 12.
July the 12th? And how, just describe for the jury how that works. You issue a search warrant to the credit card company,
Yes, sir, I did.
and you executed that on July the 12th of 2022.
Yes, sir.
Sent the search warrant to Discover. If you could, tell the jury what date range of transaction history, account information you were looking for from Discover in that search warrant.
I was looking for any transaction history between July 8th and July 12th, or July 7th and July 12th.
Okay?
No objection.
All right.
Your Honor, counsel just kind of stating to the record, if the number of pages, if you just state how many pages there are, so start throwing stuff around the courtroom, we'll know what we got to find.
This is S90 from.
That's, Your Honor, Mr. Creekmore, I don't show a return on file. Yes, it's got a return. I don't show a return. Oh, that's what they're, that is the return. On the
Yes.
Discover, right?
It is.
Front page.
Return.
He didn't sign a return.
Oh, to the court.
Yeah. I'm just asking. I just want to look, he had one, I need a copy of it. I got like 5 or 6 that don't have return.
On the search warrant, did you have a return
For Discover?
for Discover?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have it with you?
Have a copy?
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
That's my concern.
No objection to the records. Would ask that they receive.
All right, let's get it. It's gonna be 90 for you, 90.
S9.
All right. S90 will be admitted.
All right, I'm gonna hand you exhibit 90. Now,
We got all he can need, Sheriff. I mean, if anybody in charge, y'all hot enough? All right. Yeah, I know, just do your best. We ain't too particular.
all right, so the transaction history goes back to 2021.
Yes, sir.
All right. What was the date of the last transaction on the Discover card?
July 7th of 2022.
All right. At the time that Discover was complying with that request, that was on 7/12. They would have given you any transactions that would have occurred between July the 7th and July the 12th, correct?
Correct.
Were there any other transactions in between July the 7th and July the 12th of 2022 on that Discover card?
No, sir.
All right, did you issue a search warrant for the American Express or OPD?
Yes. Yes, sir. OPD issued a search warrant for American Express.
Do you have that search warrant?
Yes, sir.
All right. What was the date range of the information that was requested in that search warrant?
Your Honor, I approach counsel for a minute.
And do you have the return on those?
Yes, sir.
All right, what was the date of the return on the American Express?
I believe it was returned in February of 23 because you have to mail American Express search warrants.
All right, well, let's start over. Search warrant was obtained on what day?
It was obtained on on my notes, the 12th of July.
When was it delivered to American Express?
It was mailed to American Express on the correction. American Express was on the 18th of July, and it was returned on the 24th of February 2023.
February 24th of
2023.
2023. Did they send a return to you when they sent you the information, the transaction history on that account?
They did return the
Certificate of authenticity?
I do not believe they returned the certificate of authenticity.
They didn't send a cover letter with it?
I don't believe so.
All right. So the records that you have from that account, what is the date range on the information that you received?
The date range, on American Express, went to
From when? to
August
when?
the 10th,
Beginning
March of 22,
March of 22 until
until the last charge was August the 10th.
of 2022.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, on that information that they provided, is that the one where you had to go in and put a password in order to access the information?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No objection. As long as you state, again, you state for the record, for the pages.
No, but exhibit number 91,
Yes, sir.
and I understand that's going to be, no objection to that being admitted. You asked it to be admitted, Mr. Creekmore?
Yes, sir.
All right, 91 to be admitted.
All right, so looking at the transaction history on American Express, if you could just tell the jury how many transactions were on J. Lee's American Express in the month of April.
In the month of April, 27.
All right, it's actually, you had March as well too, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
So how many transactions in March?
18,
How many in April?
27,
How many in May?
36,
How many in June?
45,
All right. Now then, from July the 1st to July the 8th, how many transactions were on the American Express card?
9.
All right. Were there any on July the 8th, 2022?
No, sir.
All right. After July the 8th, 2022, did you look at the transaction history through that August, I believe you said August 12th, did you not?
10th?
August 10th. Did you examine that history?
Yes, sir.
Did you determine what kind of charges those were?
Yes, sir. They were automated charges.
Okay. All right. Let's go through the automatic charges in July.
July the 10th and the 24th, Apple.
So that would be like a Apple fee subscription service
Yes, sir.
that automatically came out of the account.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then what's the next automatic that occurred?
Disney Plus on August the 4th.
All right. Subscription charge?
Yes, sir.
All right. Automatic?
Yes, sir.
Any other transactions?
There's another Apple charge on August the 10th. And there is a Disney Plus credit applied on August the 8th.
Okay. That microphone, get real close. So that last one was a Disney credit?
Yes, sir. Disney credit on August the 8th.
Okay. how were you able to determine that those were actually automatic transactions?
Because I could see on the statements that the Apple charge showed that it was an internet bill
Okay.
charge.
And though, would Jay Lee need to be alive in order for those charges to occur?
No, sir.
After that last transaction on July the 7th, tell the jury what that transaction was.
On July the 7th, it was a purchase at Loving Hair.
I'm sorry?
It was a purchase at Loving Hair
Okay. Was that an automatic charge?
on July the 7th. No, sir.
Point of sale purchase? Point of
Yes, sir.
sale purchase?
Yes, sir.
All right. Were there, after that transaction, were there any other point of sale transactions on that American Express?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, there were several other cards. You weren't involved in the search warrant on them, but were you aware of his checking account?
Yes, sir. I know the search warrant was submitted.
All right. Who conducted that?
Ryan Baker.
All right. So he would have those records.
Yes, sir.
All right. The other, like the Cash App account, did you look into that?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what Cash App is?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain that to the jury? What kind of service that is?
Yes, sir. Cash App is when you send money from one person to another.
All right. Did you get any transaction history on Cash App?
We got a return back, but there was no transaction data.
Okay. So you couldn't make any observations about that and
No.
his activity on Cash App?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other financial institutions that you got information on?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, court's indulgence. Yes, go ahead.
If I could clarify one thing about the photographs. When I went out there and executed the search warrant with Detective Baker, I recall that I took the photographs, but I could be wrong. He could have taken those photographs, but that could be proven by our body camera footage of who actually was the one with the camera in their hand.
You didn't have to explain it. It was a report where you spoke to the press. You can identify the depictions as being accurate. You didn't have to clarify that.
They accurately represent
Yes, sir.
what you saw,
Yes, sir.
observed when you went out to pursuant to the search warrant.
Yes, sir.
Court's indulgence.
Judge Burke, I want to ask you a couple of questions about your investigation. My list reflects that you did like 23 search warrants. Is that a fair statement? Something like that?
Yes, sir.
I promise you I'm not going to ask you about all of them, but I do want to go over, first of all, you did Discover, Capital One, two American Express search warrants on, with the two different cards, you had to issue two search warrants on the same card.
I did the first American Express search warrant, and it was supposed to be mailed. I went out of town at the end of that week, and I found out that that was not mailed. Detective Scott Hollowell sent the American Express search warrant.
Okay, you're familiar with it though, right?
Yes, sir.
You did the search warrant on the DNA for Mr. Herrington, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were involved in the execution and the return on the search warrant of Mr. Harrington's car as well as entertainment center, right?
I do not recall the infotainment center.
It's got
the
you
call-
signed, I think it's got you signed off on the return, I believe. Check to make sure. I'll get back to it, but you did, the apartment lock audit, the 2 search warrants on his, apartment, Mr. Harrington's apartment. Did you do 2 search warrants on it?
Yes, sir.
You did, Jaylee's, cell phone, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm not gonna read out the entire, cell number, but did you do a search warrant on a cell number ending in 2533? It's identified on my list, we put together a search warrant, Jaylee's cell.
Yes, sir. It was AT&T.
Okay, it's AT&T. All right. You have those records with you?
Yes, sir.
All right, can I look at them, please?
Yes, sir.
You have the return on that search warrant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I look at them, please, you mind? You have the warrants, but you have the actual documents that came back as a result of this search warrant?
Not with me.
I don't have those records. Could you provide them to me if you don't mind? Copy of them? Mr. Burke, if you don't mind, I promise you I'll get your copy back, but if you give me that return, mark it, short for it, make sure you get a copy of it back. Have Mark next number to exhibit. 292, 1 page, and move for introduction at this time.
No objection.
That's the return of AT&T.
Cell phone data return from Jimmie Lee.
Okay. It's D92.
Detective, that, you'd agree with me, you got those returns, back on July the 25th, correct, 2022? I promise you I'm not gonna mislead you. Fair statement.
The 21st.
When was the return signed?
The 25th.
That's right, you signed the return, but you got them back on the 21st. You signed the return on the 25th, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. As far as Mr. Harrington's first warrant on his apartment, do you remember when it was executed?
July 22nd.
And I believe the return was done on the 26th, and I'm gonna hand you, Mark, for identification as that return. The next number of the item, I think D23. 93. Now, I think these items have already been introduced into evidence, or photographs of these items have been introduced in other civics, but this appears to be your return that you executed the search warrant. I think you didn't send a video of it on the 22nd, and you executed that one on the 26th, right?
I executed it on the 22nd. It was signed on the 26th.
Okay. All right, thanks. And you also did, on that same date, you executed a search warrant on the lock audit system there at the apartment complex, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'll hand you the return, what I understand to be the items in relationship to the lock audit for Mr. Harrington's apartment, correct? You did that, you got that return, and you executed that warrant, right?
Yes, sir. We did have information returned to us.
Like that remark, for identification introduced, there's no objection to it.
Has to be amended, the return.
And the contents of the return. I'll identify the pages.
Your Honor, may we approach just for 1 second?
Thank you. Your Honor, I'll count the pages. 1, 2, 17 pages, I believe. Read it tomorrow. Detective. D-94 appears to be what's been provided as the return, and the contents of the return, similar to the other documents you testified about. Does that appear to be the return, the lock audit return from the apartment complex, Mr. Herrington?
The return on the front is mine, but I turned the lock audit information over to Detective Baker, who did the examination. So I've never looked at the actual contents of the lock audit.
All right, if you did the return, did you attach have you ever seen those documents that attached to that?
I've seen the return.
What about the documents that appear to be the lock audit information for the apartment? You ever seen those documents before?
I've never seen these documents before.
I have a mark for identification this time. So I'm just kind of curious how you executed a return on a search warrant without viewing the documents that were attached to the search warrant, like you testified to earlier about the documents on the other exhibits that speedily introduced into evidence just a few moments ago. This is the only return and contents of the return that you haven't looked at, Detective?
No, sir. There were multiple that I did not review.
But you signed the return. This was the inventory of it. This is the return includes the inventory. You inventory something when you did it back, right?
I signed the return after Detective Baker advised me that the information was that information in the lock audit was provided.
And yeah, this information was provided. Detective Baker reported to you that this is what he got from the lock audit from the apartment complex. You signed the return.
I signed the return.
Move into Desmond this time.
I'm going to allow, he signed vouching for it, I'm going to let D-94 be admitted.
I'm sorry. All right. I noticed that you did returns or executed warrants on, and it's not identified in any package that I have, but I'll give you the last 4 digits of the phone number. I don't, it is 2914. All I have on here is a search warrant on cell number 29, last 4 digits 2914 OPD Mike Burks, and I have no return. And my as of 11/18/2022, there was no return. Can you tell me what that search warrant was? That 2914 search warrant? I got it listed number 68 on my list. I know it's not your number, but can you tell me who's associated with that search warrant? I mean, with that cell number?
I need to see a copy of the warrant so that I can know what I'm.
Is that on your list? You whether or not you did a search warrant on that cell number? It's a 262 number. I'm not going to give the middle digits. It's 2914. That doesn't ring a bell or any of you listed your search warrants?
I would have to see it.
All right. What about, do you have any other search warrants that include cell numbers for any people of interest or any individuals that may be witnesses that you, during the course of your investigation, you felt like you needed to retrieve their cell phone numbers? If you identify those individuals, I appreciate it. All I have is numbers.
Right. Can Can you please repeat your question? I just,
It was twofold. It appears that as to an individual by the name of Blaine Brown, cell phone number for Mr. Brown, and I think it was executed. There was no return on files. OPD, y'all's records, there's no return. You remember getting cell phone numbers from Mr. Brown?
can I see the document that you're referring to?
Now, I'm not gonna have it marked, I'm just gonna look at it for a
That's
second.
fine.
You look at it and tell me whether or not. Look at the whole document, there's a couple of people on there. Got on my list that you sent them and executed them. If that's incorrect, please let me know.
I do not recall doing a search warrant for Blaine Brown, or I do not have the warrant in front of me.
Or that number, is that number associated with him? Am I missing something?
I see the number, I just don't recognize it.
Okay. What about the other numbers on there? Y'all have to find if I approach. And the name on there, Blaine Brown, and there's a number on there. Don't read your cell number, please, but the last four digits, 2489. It says Mr. Baker on there. And Mr. Baker did those. You did not do those, right?
Right, I have no recollection of that.
I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the photographs that we just looked at. Did you? Last 89 photographs we just did. Well, yeah, did you?
What's this? There's a picture of a car right there. I don't know if that's it or not anyway.
Here it is. Anyway, the photographs of the car that
We'd like to find it at some point. Y'all might as
I will
well.
find.
We ain't going home without it.
All right, thank you, Judge. Can you tell me, other than photographing the car, Detective Baker, did you do anything else with reference to the car? Have it towed anywhere else, anything along those lines? Did you do anything other than photograph the car?
Yes, sir, we searched the car.
Excuse me?
We searched the car.
All right, you searched the car, immediately after you photographed it,
Yes, sir, after it was photographed.
and before it was processed by anybody? By any crime lab tech or anything?
That was before, yes, sir.
You searched it before the crime lab tech got there?
Before we sent it to the crime lab, yes, sir.
All right. Did you move items around looking for stuff?
Yes,
in
sir.
the car? Okay. So, your representation is that everything in the car was exactly in this condition when you photographed it. Y'all didn't go through it before you photographed it, right?
No, sir.
Okay. But you represent to the jury that before it was processed, that it was, y'all went through it looking for items of value, correct? I mean, looking for whatever. Had a you had a mace thing in there that was attached to, this key fob right here that you've identified, I believe. You've identified this as, it's like a key fob, right, or something, but key wasn't in it, right?
I'm not sure what that is.
It appears to be a key fob, something belongs connected to the keys. Do you know whether or not y'all were able to determine, I know it has J on it. Maybe you'll figure out that's probably J. Lee's, but those keys that are associated with that key ring, did y'all, or did you do anything to determine whether or not what they went to, anything like that?
No, sir.
All right. And in this photograph here, I'm trying to figure this out. You have a little bit, I appreciate it. How you blow this thing up, Judge? I think there's a better photograph of some other, but this appears to be, that was attached to or in close proximity to that key ring. There's a location. Appears to be one of those mace containers. You put mace in that people use. Is that what it appears to be, Mr. Burke?
What are you referring to in the photo? What part of the photo are you referring to?
You see the key fob holder right there?
See the little black piece, yes, sir.
And the little black thing next to it. I'll try to find it later, but it got another picture somewhere. Does not appear to be one of those mace holder things that people use to protect themselves when someone may attack them, or is that what that looks like? Yes or no?
I have mace, and no, sir, not to me.
All right, but trying to see if I got a better picture of it. But it's a fair statement that these water bottles, that water bottle on the seat there, is materially in the same place generally. You may move it a little bit. It was sitting on the seat at the time, right? And all of these items that were here, this bottle, all these bottles on the floor here, and bottles down here, all these bottles and things materially are in the same position that it was when y'all opened the door, right?
Yes, sir.
Y'all said you moved some stuff before the crime lab got here. That would include the front part and also the back seat and also the trunk. You're going through it to figure out. I expect you to open the trunk and see if somebody's in it, right? I mean, or look in the back seat.
Yes, sir. We went through the entire vehicle.
Sir?
We went through the entire vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Now, the return on the search warrant in Mr. Herrington's house, the first one didn't include the cell phone that was taken from his residence, right?
That is correct.
You had everything on the warrant return, but not the cell phone. Was that just inadvertent? Was nothing intentional about that, was it? Just happened to be missed off that return?
The cell phone was taken with Detective Baker and Lieutenant Fortner when they left the apartment. It wasn't in front of me. I didn't see it. I didn't notate it down.
So they took the cell phone with them, with Mr. Herrington, right?
Yes, sir.
And the second search warrant that you did on Mr. Harrington's apartment was done on July the 27th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. I think I'm about done, Your Honor. One more question. Did you talk with, anyone there when the vehicle it was towed there by Bandit? Is that right? That's where y'all went to Bandit to do this, is that right?
We did go to Bandit.
So you didn't tow it anywhere else, it was at Bandit?
It was at Bandit. When we arrived, when I went out to Bandit initially to meet UPD, it was in the main tow yard. And when we came back to the search warrant, they moved it into the inside shop area using the same record.
Okay. Cool. Mike, sorry, Detective, did you talk to the tow truck driver that day or just go to Bandit?
Yes, sir, I did. I believe it was Michael Kent.
Right. And Mr. Kent had been some evidence introduced that he picked it up at Molly Bar and brought it there to his shop, right?
Bandit towing, yes,
Right.
sir.
And he was pretty adamant when he talked to y'all that it wasn't in that parking spot when you interviewed him when he passed through earlier that day. I'm not saying it wasn't in Molly Bar Trails, but he was pretty adamant that he didn't miss it that morning when you went through what.
I don't recall.
I think that's all I have.
All right, redirect. All right,